Mate, I loved it. Honestly, loved it. I took so much out of it. And when I win that gold medal, mate, that'll be like one of the things that I thank.
On this episode of Chatting with Champions, we speak to Harry Garside, 2015 Com Games team captain, 9-time Australian champion, and 2018 Com Games medalist. And in a few days, you'll be going to Tokyo. Welcome onto the show, Harry. Thanks for coming on.
You're welcome. Yeah, no, thanks for having me, boys. Appreciate
it. We're our own cheer squad out here, man.
Yeah,
low cost operators.
Yeah, but I actually saw on your story today, your Instagram story, you were doing some sprints as well.
Yeah, no, we were. Some short, sharp sprints this morning, so we're like very close to comp. So it's definitely starting to get more explosive, and all the hard work's done now. So just sort of freshening up and getting ready to rumble.
So leading into like the last sort of 2 months leading up to Tokyo, how has your training sort of transitioned?
Yeah, so we were based in the Gold Coast for about like 2-3 months, and that was like just a heavy training block, just making sure we like build a really good foundation, and we're training 2-3 times a day and building that really good foundation, not much sparring. And then we transitioned to the sparring phase about a week before we come to America, and then sparring phase in America leading into Miyazaki as well. We went to Miyazaki a little bit early, so that's the stage that you really need to be boxing well. You're doing a lot of fight review, spar review, and stuff like that. And that's the time that you really want to be performing, because obviously that's the time just before the Olympics. So it's been a really solid camp for everyone, and I'm really excited to sort of see what we all can muster up at the Olympics.
Yeah, when you talk about like the review, is that film review?
Yeah. So we're pretty grateful. While we were in America, they were filming all spars, and they shared it with us as well. So you'll be sparring people in your weight. Like Keyshawn Davis is in my weight. I was doing a couple of rounds with him. The Jordanian, I'm not too sure how to pronounce his name, but he's also in my weight. And we have to we sit down and just do a little bit of like a spar review and work out what was working well, what wasn't working well. And stuff like that, because they'll be doing the exact same thing with us. So
when you're looking at that, what are you looking for? Because I guess it's sort of hard, because you're not saying we're fighting one opponent. It's like you're fighting one every 3 or 4 days. Are you more so just looking at your own type of work, or are you watching everyone else's spar review?
In a sense, man, like that's the best thing about amateur boxing, and that's what I think makes it just that touch harder than professional boxing, is you don't know who you're going to fight. So like for us, we have to prepare for everyone. Like one day you could have a small, stocky Russian who's tough as, the next day you could have some Cuban who's nice and long and tall. So that's the best thing about it. You actually have to spar with everyone and prepare for everyone. In the pros, you have about 3 months to prepare for one fighter. You can get people who are similar. You can get sparring partners who are similar and stuff like that. So it makes it really interesting, and you don't know who you're going to get until the day before the comp starts. So that makes it really exciting, and you just have to prepare for everyone. So in a sense, when we're watching those fight reviews, we're sort of looking at what we do good against certain fighters, like style of fighting, not so much that fighter. But say like the Jordanian was really tough and just on the front foot, and there will be people like that at the Olympics who are like that. So I was just saying what I did well, what I didn't do well. Coach was giving me a lot of feedback, which is great.
That's awesome. And you got into boxing as well, like just going back to the start, just to, was it be more alpha against your brothers? Is that?
Yeah, I was I'm the youngest of three. Yeah, I'm the youngest of 3 boys, and like my dad as well is like the most blokey bloke you'll ever meet. And like even growing up, like just all like my brother's friends and stuff like that, all cousins, they were just all blokes. And I definitely feel like I have a lot more feminine energy in me. I definitely connected with my mum a lot more, and doing what my like the female activities, I guess, if you say that. And I felt I just wanted to get a bit of respect from my brothers, because they didn't really take me seriously. So I started boxing, and yeah, I fell in love with it within the first week. So
I mean,
very grateful.
boxing's a pretty good way to amp up that masculine
Yeah,
energy.
man, you threw yourself in the deep end.
Jesus.
It's cool that you own. It's cool that you own your feminine side. I think a lot more dudes could benefit from doing that. We were actually talking about how we really want to help Luke find a nice fundraiser for money that he's trying to raise within the year. I recommended some different ones around men's mental health and things like that. It's a massive thing. It's really cool that you're advocating for that more sensitive element, because a lot of people could benefit from it.
100%, man. I'm really passionate about it. Obviously, the suicide rate is through the roof in Western civilization and throughout the world. And I think in Australia it's like 6 out of 8 people who take their life. 6 of them are males, and it's really sad, man, when you really think about it. And I think if more men can get comfortable like talking to their mates and stuff like that, I think it's going to be useful, because I think it's just a lot of people feel unheard, and especially males, they don't know how to express themselves. I feel like we're taught to express ourselves violently and stuff like that. But the best way to actually express yourself is find a mate who trusts you and cares for you, and tell them how you're really feeling. And that's something that I know that I've definitely tried to carry. So yeah, I'm pretty passionate about that stuff, man. And like I hope that we can be better as a country.
Yeah. And what do you do in your personal life, like outside of boxing, to sort of strengthen that idea in the community?
I think just trying to role model. Obviously, like I don't have a massive following, man, but like just trying to role model. Like I recently just did like live stream some poetry and stuff like that. Just trying to role model, like it's okay to do some things that may be classified as girly or stereotypically girly. And I actually I don't know if you guys have ever heard of the Reach Foundation. So the Reach Foundation is started by Jimmy Steins, who was a Brownlow medalist. Yeah, footballer, exactly right. Irish footballer, Brownlow medalist, and Paul Curry, who's a film director. And they started this foundation, and this foundation entered my life when I was about 15, 16. And yeah, through that foundation, I really learned how to like be vulnerable, as it was something that I really struggled with at home, having a dad who was really manly and brothers who were really manly. But knowing that was actually how I felt naturally, like I really wanted to show that and express that. And through the Reach Foundation, I was actually really grateful that they showed me the tools of how to delve into yourself and be okay with who you are, and love yourself unconditionally, because that's something that I've always struggled with. So the last 2-3 years, even more, the last sort of 5-6 years, like I've just been on this massive self-improvement journey, and it will never end, but like I'm just learning to love every aspect of myself. And if that means being vulnerable, and hopefully it advocates for other people as well, especially really males, to sort of show a bit more vulnerability.
Dude, that's wicked, because you can only champion yourself. I mean, no one else is going to do it. Hell, you doing this poetry, you might be the next William Shakespeare for all we know.
I hope so. Who knows? You earn a lot more money than boxers.
True that, dude. True that.
Gotta start fighting YouTubers. That's the goal, huh? That's the goal.
Yeah, I know.
Do you know Hasbullah, the little dude from Dagestan, like Khabib's cousin or whatever it is?
Oh yeah.
Dude, you can fight him, man.
Might be a bit of a weight discrepancy, but
the rule is
Alex's size.
Yeah. You're gonna have to fight with your ankles tied.
Yeah.
You fight Hasbullah.
I love that sort of stuff. They're pretty hilarious, those two young fellas. I think they're young. They're pretty old, actually. Yeah.
They're 18, man. It's
18.
wicked. Like I did not assume that when I first saw them. I thought they, maybe like 6 years old, something like that. But no, they're crazy.
And with the poetry, like you're saying, you just got into it. What pushed you in that direction? I guess like a lot of people are on that self-improvement journey. But what sent you in poetry's direction? The poetry
itself, I actually got like inspiration from the Matthew McConaughey book, which I highly recommend.
Is that Green Light?
Green Lights, yeah. So I'm not much of a reader, but the audiobook, he actually talks in the audiobook, and it's fantastic. And he writes a lot of poetry, but the actual reason why I did the poetry was I'm doing something once a month that makes me uncomfortable, and I've been doing that since the start of 2019, so a long time, 2.5 years.
Awesome, dude.
I've done some pretty crazy stuff like public reading, something I struggle with. Started ballet, months without technology, numerous other things.
Really?
And it's been fantastic. Yeah. And through that, like the growth has been like exceptional. And anyone who's on like that self-improvement like a journey, like really knows that like the more you can put yourself in uncomfortable situations, like the more you're going to grow. So yeah, it'd be something that I do for a long time, I reckon.
Is there one thing you reckon that's like one activity that during the month that's provided just an exponential amount of growth than any other thing?
They all have different things. Like I sang karaoke and took it full serious. Wasn't a piss take, because I knew I could go in there. Like I'm pretty confident. I would go in there and I could laugh and joke around and people would laugh. But I decided to go in there. I sang Chris Brown With You, track, absolute track. Yeah, and then I mean I had to like, I full took it seriously, and I can't sing at all. So that was really hard. Probably the hardest was the public reading. That was really tough. I felt like I could run through a wall after that. Like the adrenaline was
really.
So
that's fantastic.
With that, like, are you going out to the shops and is reading? Like, what was that activity?
Yeah, so that was a tough. I was actually at the Australian Institute of Sport, and I said to my teammates, Caitlin Parker was with me, and I said, I'm just going to walk into any room that has people and just hijack the meeting.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was bad, man. It was bad. And I walk in, the worst thing was I walk in, right, and I just hijacked the meeting. I said, I'm only going to take like 5 minutes of your time. This is what I'm doing. This is why I'm doing it. And I look up and there's just all blokes in the room. I'm like, oh man, of course. And it turns out later, I public read and it was really nerve wracking. I stumbled a few times, but it turns out that group was just army recruits of all people, like the most blokey bloke. Mate, it was like really tough. And like sometimes, like when I was mucking up throughout my reading, like I look up and some of the boys were like laughing and stuff. So it made it really hard. But like
the fact that you went and did that, man, that takes huge balls. I think honestly, for men to turn around and say, I'm not where I want to be, let's push it to the nth degree. Let's go full mental. We'll try anything and everything that comes at us. I think that is a blokey bloke. I mean,
yeah.
Hell, what is a blokey bloke?
Yeah.
I just think that it takes some big nuts, dude. It takes some massive nuts. I'm surprised you're even able to walk, let alone box, dude. They must be that heavy. but dude, yeah, hats off to you. That's cool. That's really cool.
Have you noticed like an improvement in the way you approach boxing since you've started this self-improvement journey? Because I imagine like putting yourself in all these uncomfortable positions, it would just make you more comfortable when you're like approaching a fight and everything. Is that what you found?
150%, man. I also think that comes with like maturity. So I started boxing when I was 9, and my first international tournament was 2015. So like it's been the last few years. Obviously at the start I was really nervous. Like my first international tournament, I drew England, the Youth Commonwealth Games, and he was like the best in the division, and I crumbled under pressure in a sense because I was like, oh my God, like I beat myself before I even got in the ring in a sense. It's like now I go to competitions and it's like Cuba's the best in my way. I want to go to the Olympics, right? I want to draw Cuba first up. You know what I mean? Like that's the attitude. That's where it's changed. That's the growth. Yeah, that's where the growth is. And I think it's through things like that, the uncomfortable things, but also through maturity as a human. So yeah, it's on a weird journey.
If you're listening right now, we're giving away a 120 AED gift card to the first listener to DM our Instagram at Outspoken Show, Harry for Gold. Make sure you come back to the program and hear what's next. Wow, that's so cool though, because like before the fight now, do you feel like there's a change, or is it I've been here before, I know what I'm doing, I know what this is like?
Yeah, in a sense, man. So we did this through the uncomfortable thing that I was just talking about. We actually learned this through the Gold Medal Ready program, which is a program that the AIS, the Australian Institute of Sport, started. So it was after Rio. There was like we didn't have that much success in Rio as a country, and they looked at starting this initiative to sort of like build us and put us under really stressful situations with the Commando Regiment, which is like something that I've always wanted to do. So the Australian Army. And the biggest thing I took from it was get comfortable being uncomfortable. And through that, like through that whole journey of with the Commando Regiment, gold medal alumni, I really learned like the stress responses that our body feels in high stress situations, like that fight or flight. And it's like when you don't actually know why you feel that. So like before a running race, you all remember when you're younger, like that feeling in your gut, and you're like, it almost throws you off. It's like a natural response to what we're doing. And then once I got awareness of that, like every time I feel those things, like I almost embrace them more. I feel them more because I'm like, this is just how I'm supposed to feel right now, which is a great thing. Like, and before I didn't know that, like I was like really terrified of feeling those things, but it's just all part of it. And I think if athletes can like feel that and like accept it, then I think they can perform, which is great.
100%.
Yeah, that's.
I was gonna. What were you gonna say?
No, I was just going to say that's sort of what I was talking about with you guys the other night. Harry, I've started going to the gym more, lifting weights more, and when I've been hitting PRs, dude, I start feeling that butterfly sensation, like you were saying. And dude, I've realized that's why I go back to the gym week in, week out, is because I love that weird feeling of like, oh fuck, can I actually do this? Yeah, it's addictive.
I love
man.
it.
Yeah. Well, another guy, like an audiobook that I was listening to, Ross Edgley. He was he's done the longest concurrent swim. He swam around the United Kingdom, including Scotland and Ireland. And he talked about that fight and flight mode because it creates this such like visceral reaction in your body. It's so taxing, especially in an endurance sport where like it's very bad on your overall body's health, where he really needs it because it's like a 6-month journey for him. And he started like as part of his preparation swimming with sharks. So just by just putting his hand in the same tank with a shark, just to like get used. And they're trained sharks. It's not like you might lose your hand this time, but it's just getting used to being comfortable with sharks in the ocean, because when you're swimming around the sharks, there's sharks in the ocean. Like,
trained shark is still a
100%.
shark though.
Yeah.
Jesus, I would still be worried.
But that was the training though, just so that fight and flight response doesn't exist, and it doesn't spark like any sort of crazy reaction.
The
in his
anxiety
body.
and stuff's not there. Because I guess, like Harry was saying, you still want the fight or flight scenario. You still want the adrenaline. You still want that.
But you want it to be on your
performance
terms.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
You just don't want the
you wanna use
anxiety
it.
side of things.
Yeah.
Honestly,
I think when you don't have awareness and when you don't have awareness of it, and you start feeling all these tensions in your muscles and your bowels are moving and your body's aching in a sense, if you think of it like look at it like that, of course it's going to throw you off.
That's such an
It's like
awesome
more
initiative, from Australia to do.
It's fantastic, mate. I loved it. Honestly, loved it. I took so much out of it. And when I win that gold medal, mate, that'll be like one of the things that I thank.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Yeah,
let's go.
Yeah. Wow.
And do you think that your mental strength is your biggest it's your biggest attribute going into these fights?
150%, mate. Athletically, like I know there's more athletic people in the weight. There's people who punch harder, people who punch quicker, people who have just a better physique for boxing in a sense. The Cuban is fantastic. The Kazakh, sorry.
Dude, that's that hype music. Let's go.
Yeah, please excuse me though. I've got like just 1 minute. I just got to do this thing.
It's all good, dude.
But I think we'll continue it because I think that's a really awesome like initiative from Australia to bring that on, because Rio wasn't a good year for Australia.
Yeah, that's the thing. They've gone back and analyzed themselves. Like, how have we failed our athletes here? Because the athletes, they've put in the time, they've put in years worth of work. They've built their athletic foundations. It's based on the Australian teams to refine them to the nth degree. And it's for Australian teams to give them that little nudge that they need. And if we failed them in Rio, well, then it's good that we've gone back and looked and gone, oh shit, how can we really give them the best tools? Because these guys naturally,
they're already athletes, but how do they perform on the stage?
How do you bring them up a bit?
We got you back there, Harry. Everything's all good.
Yeah, I'm back. Sorry, boys. I have like an alarm set like 6-7 times a day, and I have to like get up and just like I say a few things in my head, and then I sit back down.
That's all good.
I've got to do it.
That's back on that mental strength.
Yeah. So that's actually one of the things I do. So that alarm goes off 5 times a day, or probably more actually, 5 or 6 times a day. And when it does, I get up and I say, am I living in my king energy? and I've tried and build myself up with love, power, and then at the end I've like visualized I'm standing on top of the podium, or I visualize the person putting the medal on my neck, which that gives me shivers. So
let's go. That's good.
You've given me shivers.
That's unreal, man. We were actually just saying while you're doing that, it's really fantastic that the Australian Olympic Board has gone and analysed themselves from Rio and have realised, hey, we failed our athletes in Rio. Let's help build their mental up. Let's help build them and fine tune them. And it's fantastic that the programs work, because it sounds like you've taken so much away from it, man. So yeah, big props to you.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think like you really think about Australia, man, like we don't have real problems. We don't have, I know we create a lot of our problems like psychologically, but you like through traveling and seeing the world, like I've seen how some people live in third world countries, and for boxing especially, we're competing against countries who, like a lot of the successful nations are third world countries. So you're competing against people who are like fighting to live and fighting for food. They're fighting for different reasons. What am I fighting for? Like realistically, I'm fighting because I love the sport. Like we need to make sure our like obsession and desire and all these mental strengths attributes, like we need to make sure that they're like up here, because the people in third world countries, they're already there because they didn't even ask for it. They didn't even ask for that situation, but like their mental strength is so strong because they're put under those situations. So
yeah,
I'm pretty grateful.
Yeah, it brings up a really interesting point. One of your Instagram stories, you said, we're going to war. I've heard a lot of boxers say, we're going to war. We're not going to a fight. What's that one word, or what's that change in language do for your mental? Because it sounds like you're trying to set yourself up to feel like an underdog in a way.
Absolutely, man. I couldn't agree more. I think, I don't know where it stems from, but I think for me, it's like fires that fire in your belly, you know what I mean? And like for us, like going to war, it's like I've always explained boxing, right? I've always explained boxing or any combat sport. It's like the most intimate thing you can do besides sex. Like you're inside, you're locked in a square or locked in an octagon with one other person, and you're trying to hurt them. You're trying to there's no malice in what you're doing though, but it's like there's just so much going into it, and I think to sort of build you up, and if you have to say things like war or you're going to battle or stuff like that, like to really hype you up, because if you don't do that, you're gonna get in there and you're gonna get the shit punched out of you, realistically. Yeah. So yeah, and I know all your other opponents are building themselves up mentally, so it's just part of the game, I guess.
Yeah, and you've done a lot of fights in Uman in Jordan, and I feel like that would be one of those places where those guys are either involved in a war or like just fighting to live. Like for us, like our standard of living is a lot higher than theirs. Like we're pretty boys. Yeah. Like compared to those guys who are, they just want to stay alive. They're a lot more hungry.
The desire is different and their reason for fighting is different. So as I said, if you can seek inspiration from anything and everything, like it's really going to help you.
What do you tend to take inspiration from?
For me, man, like a lot of the things, like was my upbringing. Like I want to make my mum really proud. I want to prove myself right. I want to put Australia on the map. I'm so patriotic. I love this country to bits, and which we've never won a gold medal for boxing. And I really want to be the first, and I feel like Australia deserves it. Just a lot of it stems from like my family, man. Like I love my family and I love my friends, and I'm just a boy from Lilydale, like Victoria, and it's like a pretty small town. And I definitely didn't think when I started boxing I'd be where I am now. And I don't know, I just want to try and like show like my mates or anyone like you can, if you put your mind to something, like you can dead set achieve anything.
Definitely.
So yeah, like that's my inspiration, man.
Yeah, in a way you want to make yourself the poster boy of the sport and just make it so that no one is above you, I guess, in a sense. That's what it sort of sounds like to me. You just want to be the absolute best.
100%. And that's the thing. I think any athlete who doesn't have that mindset, like go do something else. Go do some art or something like that. Like you really need to have that mindset, especially in like the business world or in the sports world. You really need to have that mindset where it's it's like a dog eat dog world. I mean, you want to be the best and you want to be on top. And as well, like a big thing for me, man, like I want to inspire the next generation, and I want to inspire the next generation of boxers so they test me. I mean, I want the next generation of boxers in Australia to be exceptional, so then it makes me have to train harder and be better. Because if I don't, they're going to beat me. Like, and how much easier it being the underdog? It's so much easier.
Yeah.
You know, and hopefully through like winning a gold medal at the Olympics, like hopefully we can build the next generation of fighters in Australia.
Yeah, 100%. That's really awesome. Like, it's just I think you need a holistic sort of viewpoint that's sort of bigger than yourself, because like yourself, like an internal motivation often just like can't get you up when you didn't sleep well and you've got a big day. Like when things are just going bad,
it's only embers, not a fire. Yeah,
you need a bigger sort of vision or purpose that really just drives you, I feel.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, man. 100%. Like it needs to, and the thing is, it needs to always like be bigger than you. And I think that's something that combat sport has done for me. It's just like it's so humbling. And I've been trying to learn how to surf lately, and
Awesome.
like being in I feel like the surf culture is like fairly similar. They have similar attributes to the combat sport culture, and
That's
I think it's
awesome.
because like Mother Nature always wins in the ocean, and it's like when I've been out in the ocean, like that feeling is so humbling. Like it's so much bigger than me.
Yeah,
It's
you're not in control anymore.
100%, and that's the same as boxing. When you step inside those ropes, like it's up to someone else really. Like you can prepare and you can do as much as you want, but it's left up to that other opponent, which is like the best thing about it.
Dude, you know what's crazy, man? I've got the bloke for you to talk to, Tristan Hollard, fellow Olympian. He's massive into his surfing. You got to hit him up, dude.
Absolutely.
Are you planning on speaking to many of the surfers on the team while you're together in Tokyo?
I'll be trying. Me and the national coach Kevin Smith, we've both been trying our best. He's actually a Scouser. He's from Liverpool, England, so there's not much surfing going on over there. And me and him, while we've been on the Gold Coast, we were just trying to learn how to surf. So I'll definitely be trying to hit up the surfers for some tips.
Yeah, I mean, because like they're all the big dogs. Stephanie Gilmore, Owen, I believe. Owen Wright is going. I was looking through who went, and they're all the big dogs, like the big dogs in surfing that are going for Australia.
Yeah, there's some big names. Yeah, that girl, I'm pretty sure she's a world champion. So yeah, she's exceptional. So hopefully she can teach me one or two things about getting up on the board. I'm just having
I'm in the same spot as well. I can boogie board and I can swim surf, but I can't surf just yet. But when you were at the Gold Coast for the Com Games in 2018, winning the gold there, how did that sort of like progress you almost on this vision of showing an example for your friends, your family,
the country,
and the rest of Australia? Yeah. How did that sort of move you forward?
It was interesting, man. I feel like I was only 20 years old at the time, and like I believed in myself that I could do it 150%. But like that was just like such an interesting moment. Like that for me was a moment that like the Olympic dream become like in a sense of reality. Like before then, it's like you can say it, but like whether you actually like believe it, you know what I mean? That's a whole like a different thing. And I felt like before that, like I was just saying, yeah, I'd love to like win a gold medal for Australia. But like the Com Games for me was just like the time where it's like I plant my feet on the
getting some confirmation.
National stage. Sorry. Yeah, absolutely. It's like it's almost like the door open. It's like I'm maybe not at the top of the pack yet, like an international pack, but like I'm definitely like it's like the door open and I'm part of that pack now, which is like refreshing. And the last 3 years since the Com Games has just been working my ass off to make sure that I don't want to be sitting at the back of the pack. I want to be at the top of the pack. I want to be a step above that top of the pack. You know what I mean? That's where I want to be. So it's been good, man. And it was just, as I said, yeah, absolutely. I feel really confident, and the team is looking really good as well, which is like being so good, like training in that environment and pushing ourselves to the limit, which is like really exciting.
How has it been almost in isolation in a sense with just the Aussie team and with the Team USA at the moment as well? But how has it just been like almost wholly focusing on your boxing?
It's the best. It's like proper. I don't like obviously the Rocky movies and stuff like that. A lot of fighters, what they do is like take themselves away from their family. I haven't seen my family for months, man. I haven't
Wow.
seen my friends for months. I haven't been in Melbourne for months, and it's just part of what you do. And like being locked away and just like focusing on one thing, like is the most refreshing thing. Like no other dramas, no stress, no worries. Like all my problems, if I have any, like I'll sort them out later. Like they don't really matter. You know what I mean? Like it's just the Olympic gold medal. That's what we care about.
That's awesome.
Just simplified everything. That's awesome.
Just
That's-
zone in.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's super prep. That's good.
Tunnel vision, yeah. That's incredible. That's
Because we like people here. I mean, we try to do things where okay, we'll turn your phone off for 4 hours in the day, so that you're more productive for 4 hours.
you
But,
went 1 month.
but you literally went 1 month, and now you're talking about. I know, but that's what I
Yeah.
mean. It's like
We try and do little.
yeah, it's just interesting how people who are in our boots, they go, oh, I did it for 4 hours a day, or I did it for a week. Like, wow, that was so refreshing. And you're over here and you're killing it for months on end. You must really just feel just so empowered, dude. Because I've never done anything like you've done, so I can only imagine how fresh you feel.
Yeah, for anyone listening to this podcast, like what I realized throughout this prep more so than anything was like, so I used to bite my nails heaps. If you actually look, I've stopped biting my nails, stopped drinking coffee. This is gross, but I stopped ejaculating. And I've stopped doing a few other things, you know what I mean? It's just like, it's all about testing myself mentally. And if like for anyone listening, if you can just pick one thing that you do as a habit or something like that maybe doesn't serve you, and just like stop doing that one thing. And the more you stop doing that one thing, the more it just builds. I've just felt something else build inside of me, like, and then it's like I can say no to more things, and it's like the most refreshing thing. Like it's like you're feeding that power, like powerful like person inside of you. You're just feeding it more energy. And I know, like I've been down before, and I know it sucks when you're down, and like your bad habits come in and stuff like that. But like, if you can just pick one thing, it started off my nails, and then it started coffee, and then as I said, it started ejaculate, like no more ejaculating. And for me, like I just felt that little powerful person inside of me just grow, and it's been so refreshing.
Snowballing.
Snowballing in a good way.
Yeah.
Kicking all those habits.
Yeah.
That's gnarly.
How'd you decide on what you wanted to, like, what were you looking at when you were sort of starting to simplify your life?
A few different things, man. Like I'm a bit of I wouldn't say I'm minimalist, like completely, but I'm pretty basic. Like I don't need much to like do what I'm doing. I just need I just need a bed. I lived in the Philippines for a little bit, training for the Com Games and stuff like that. And there you almost had like, you don't even have like a bed as such. Like you're sort of sleeping on like these little tin things with like a little pillow and a minimal blanket and stuff like that. And your food's very basic and stuff like that. But from that experience, it's like I don't need much to succeed, and from that, it's like because I don't need much externally, I can all just like look internally and what I need to improve on internally, and that's where that thing's coming in, like stop biting my nails and stop drinking coffee and stuff like that. So there's all things that like bad habits that I might do, like that's where the growth is for me.
That's really cool. That's really cool. So it was that point in the Philippines in 2018 that made you sort of look at, I guess, almost all the extra things that we've got in Australia, taking them away and going, actually, I don't need to add these things back into my life. Is that right?
100%, man. And like, it sounds silly, like I've got an iPhone 12 now, but like I went so long, I think my phone before that was an iPhone 5. I went so long because I was just like massive on myself. Like, I don't need it. I don't need it. And like the battery started going and stuff like that, and it started doing my head in and stuff like that. And I did end up upgrading, but like, the reality is, man, like you don't need that new car. You don't need that, you know what I mean? And like, just like the needs and wants and stuff like that. And it's something that I've realized, and I will be rich and I will be successful and I will be what I want to achieve. I will achieve all those things, but it's like just realizing that I don't need all like that money, that like all those nice cars and all those things to be happy. Like it all just comes from like, as long as how you feel in yourself and in your skin. So that's like a big takeaway from me.
That's brilliant, man.
If you can't be happy, I guess, without anything, how are you going to be happy with it? Like,
so true, man.
That's it at the end of the day, really. I mean, and then you've started, so that Reach Foundation with Jim Steins and and what was the name of
Paul.
the other
Paul.
Paul? Yeah, he's worked
Yep.
with Woody Harrelson, like a bunch of big actors. So
Yeah.
they have a really awesome journey, which we sort of touched on earlier. You've mentioned in your spare time you like to help them out as well. What are you doing with them? And why do you like them so much? Because what was the point in which you came across them?
Yeah, so they entered my life. I always forget. I've got a terrible memory. I think it was year 10. So I was about 16, 15, 16. I was at a bit of a crossroads myself. Like I wasn't having any success in boxing. I was losing a lot of fights, wasn't succeeding at national events and stuff like that. And I was at a crossroads. Like a lot of my mates were like being teenagers and going down the path of playing up and doing what teenagers do. And I was like, do I follow my mates and sort of give up my dream? I'm not really good enough. I keep losing. And then I met the Reach Foundation, and they sort of like made me realize my full potential. And within a year of meeting the Reach Foundation, I won my first nationals. Got selected for the Youth Commonwealth Games and stuff like that. And they really just taught me like we have all the power. As any individual, we have all the power within us. We've just got to like realize it. And I'm so grateful that I met them, and now I've been, as I said, I started off as a participant. Now I'm a crew member. And when I'm in Melbourne, I always try my best to give back, because I got so much out of that. I almost feel a bit of an obligation in a good way to give it back, because I know what it did for me, and hopefully like one kid in the room might get something out of it. So
that's awesome.
They're a powerful organization. Yeah, powerful.
What is it like? What makes you realize your full potential? Because, well, I'm 21. And I would say I've realized my full potential is literally like anything I want to do. Like I genuinely believe that I can do whatever I want.
So does Dino, because Dino's
Yeah,
under the impression
Dino even believes he can do a marathon without training, but I back you there too. but just chatting to like some of my brother's friends, like this is like people who are sort of in those last couple of years of high school who like haven't realized like the actual like unlimited number of things that they can do. Like
it's a light switch moment that they have not come across yet.
Yeah. How do you realize your full potential?
I think it's hard. I'm not gonna lie, man. I feel like it landed in my lap, to be honest. Like I think it's a hard thing, because like I look at, say, like my dad, for instance, one of the best men I know, but he doesn't have really a passion outside of his family. He loves his family dearly. But like outside of family and work, like he doesn't have much. Like I'm so lucky that I found boxing when I was 9 and I really loved it. So for me, it's a bit easier, man. Like obviously I wanted to achieve all these things before meeting Reach. Like I wasn't sure if I was ever going to achieve them. Through meeting Reach, I realized that I have it all within me. Not too sure what exactly was that aha moment. But I think it's just like finding a passion and trying to scale it. You know what I mean? Trying to like evolve that passion into something that you can do for a living. That's sort of just what I've tried to do. Like I remember when I was at school, the teachers banned me off the internet because like I was just spending my whole time at school looking at boxing videos. Yeah, so it's just like I knew what I wanted to do. Yeah. I knew what I wanted to do, and no teacher was going to tell me otherwise. And it sounds bad, but like I just wanted to box.
Yeah, but that is literally that unstoppable mentality. Winners are going to win, man. That's my opinion on it. Lucas, sort of when's that light, the light switch moment? I personally think that some people are never going to have it.
Yes, but I think like anyone can get it though. Like I don't think you're born with or without it.
Yeah, I do though, because people like Harry, they're sitting there, and even when they're still doubting themselves, they're still trying their best. I know that sounds stupid, but some people don't.
It's easier for some people to get there than it is for others, I think. Like some people
to get to the light switch moment.
More of that will to find that thing. Other people are just either constantly searching or just not even paying attention.
That's a better way of saying what I did. You definitely summed that up better than I did. But you're right. It's like some people are more inclined to find the light switch moment.
Yeah, and to look for it. To even look for it. Yeah.
I listened to a really good podcast like quite recently. I forget the name of it, but it was it's like it just said like people are doing the best they can with what they know. And I'm like, so true. It's so true. Like for me, I'm grateful I've been given all these opportunities and all these things, but it's like some people like they're just trying to do their best with what they know. Which I think is like, it's like, yes, they could do more from an outsider's perspective, but it's like they're literally just doing the best with what they know. And from their experiences and stuff like that, they're just doing their best. And that's all people are trying to do. And it was like a big like moment for me. I was like, true. Like a lot of the time I may like judge someone for like, oh, but mate, like in family, like, mate, do something like why don't you do that or do that? But it's like they're just doing the best they can. And once I knew that, I was like giving more of a tap on the back rather than like a judgment, I guess.
Yeah, I had a similar moment probably when I was like, straight out of school. This was 5-6 years ago. I started studying psychology, and this one quote that it stuck with me. It was along the lines of, "Don't blame malice when like ignorance will do." Where it's like most people,
don't attribute malice
when ignorance is ignorance. So it's like most people aren't out, or most people aren't stupid because they want to be, or like it's more things can be us. How am I trying to say this? More things can be explained by people just not knowing something, rather than like not being willing to learn it. So if you're not put on the right path sometimes, and you're not shown something, you may never figure out what that thing is, and that can be put to so many things in life. Where I never look at anyone like if they make a mistake or they do something that I'm like, oh, why didn't they know that? If I ever have that thought, I'm like, it's probably just because they've never been told how to do something. Like that's always my default to go to. And it was about, I had the same moment as you where I came to that realization. I started looking at everyone differently, and I became a lot calmer a person. Like not much gets to me now. It's like, they're probably not trying to do that thing to annoy me. They just don't know that it annoys me. And like that kind of mentality is very powerful.
100%.
See, I had a very similar realization maybe 3 months ago or 4 months ago. It's a little bit later than you, sure, but it still happened. And it was actually around work. So I had a colleague saying, this particular person's not really putting in their effort. And I turned around and said, well, I don't think they actually know how to do this procedure. And that's when it clicked for me. It's like, dude, just give everyone the benefit of the doubt once or twice that they are actually trying their best, and then use your time to educate them rather than rip into them. Because 90% of the time, like you said, if you educate them, they'd probably end up putting in a hell of a lot more effort because now they've got that direction and they've been shown a little bit of how to.
I think most people in this world are just trying to be heard. Like a lot of people don't feel heard. They don't feel like accepted in a sense. They don't feel part of a group. And if you can just like listen to someone or like give them guidance in a positive way, like, man, that's going to build them up so much more than just like trashing them or going like, mate, you do this wrong, like do that better. Like, you know, I felt like that's that school system. Our school system is just built on like teachers saying like, if you don't get good grades, like you're a bit of a failure. Like, man, I'm not a failure. I'm smart as hell in my own way. I'm just not book smart. You know what I mean? Like, and I don't. Yeah, it's weird.
Well, just by listening to you, you're a fucking genius. Like by taking like one thing that you struggle with or can't do every month, like in 2 years you would have made leaps and bounds. But what about in 10 years?
Yeah,
exactly. like the intelligence and the skills that
self-awareness,
just
the emotional
acquired,
intelligence.
Can't be measured on a science, English or maths paper.
No,
like
so true. True.
And like school's great for, I don't know, like school has its pros,
So
but I think it's terrible at like telling people like they tell people they're dumb too often.
School is purely for the theoretical knowledge of life, like in terms of maths, English, and your subjects, your broader subjects. It is not there to teach you how to be like a good person. It's not there to teach you how to overcome problems. If it was, then we'd all be, Olympian standard mentality, but it's not. And is one of the sadder things. They do break you down and they rip you apart.
Lacks practical application and all the things they teach you. It's all just the theory and stuff.
With
and continue.
Sorry, you go.
I was just like I think like if we could change the school system in a sense, like to make it more about creating good humans rather than good students, like the world would be a different place.
Such a good point.
A lot
So,
more
man,
happy people, a lot more people
Yeah.
who are like
yeah,
happy with what they're doing with their life and
you
not
know what?
feeling in like part of the system and all
We
that.
would probably end up having more productive workspaces as well. If you know deep down in your heart that the one motivating factor is you want to find a cure for this particular illness, dude, you'd probably put a shitload more effort in than if I told you had to study for it.
Yeah.
Like, just let
Absolutely.
people find what
100%.
they need to find and coach them along the way rather than pigeonholing them into this one particular aspect.
And by like you telling me that I have to study for this
You
test,
probably won't.
I don't want to study for the test right now. like, and especially like telling like teenagers like to do that as well. It's just like they just want to fight back as well. But with the 5 reminders a day, is it the same questions you're asking yourself?
So okay, so I'll run you through my alarms because like I'm really passionate about this. So I actually feel like it's helped me. So five or six times a day, depending on my schedule, that alarm goes off, and it's like, am I living in my king energy? Build myself up with love, because that's something that I've always struggled with. I've never felt like my big motivation growing up was like I never felt enough. I felt people trash my family a lot. And I only realized that a few years ago, and it's been something that I'm trying to change. I'm trying to change the tone. Like I am enough. Like I'm like, and it's not what's it called? It has nothing to do with anyone else, how they feel about me. But as long as I feel enough in myself, and it's like building myself up with love, and like I'm powerful, I'm strong. You mean I'm here, and then saying I'm an Olympic gold medalist. I say that like 5 or 10 times, and then as I said, I picture the medal being put on my neck or the national anthem.
What can you feel like? Describe the feeling of that medal going around your neck.
Mate, honestly, it gives me tingles. Obviously, every day and how your mood is at the time plays a big role in it. But yeah, most times, man, like especially when I can see like a clear Japanese person like putting it on my neck, like that is when I know I'm feeling good. And as I said, it's not always like that. There's some days that you can't see a clear picture. Your brain's groggy. Your attention spans all over the shop. But there are those moments where you're like, oh man, this is what it's about. And there's the tingles and the adrenaline, and that's what we do for like at athletes. We want that feeling, and yeah, it's very refreshing, man. But also on the alarms, I also have 3 different alarms set. So it's like all about being in the present moment. It's just like 3 alarms go off and I have to touch something and like really feel it, and just like experience the feeling of touching. And then 5 alarms go off, and I have to like explain something in my head about something I see. So like right now outside, I see like a red car, Toyota car, it's got a green number plate. Like just like really bring myself to like the present. I like really find it valuable. So
That's awesome. And are you going to do something like that as you're walking into the ring to not get? Is there going to be crowds? I've heard mixed sort of reports.
Yeah, there is. Yeah,
There will be
50%. So
Okay,
50%.
awesome.
They only released it recently. Yeah, 50%.
Yeah, awesome. So like, are you going to be doing any of the what do they call it? Mindfulness.
The mindfulness as you walk in
on your way in, because you want to like, it's a big moment walking out, like Olympic crowd,
green and gold.
Yeah. How will you be bringing yourself back in as you're walking out to the ring?
Yeah, that's massive. And that's something that I also do outside of all those alarms, is just like a visualization. And just like Jess Fox, who's also on the Olympic team, absolute gem. She hit me up and we talk a bit about like growth and stuff like that. And she has a lot of visualization, and she's helped me out a lot on that. And I remember listening to Lauren Burns. So Lauren Burns was a Taekwondo gold medalist in 2000, Sydney Olympics. And I remember her saying her event wasn't until later in the week. And obviously being on home soil, the dynamics of that, and COVID-free, the crowd would have been mental. And she took herself to Grand Hackett or something like that, to a swimming event, and she closed her eyes and just felt the crowd. It's like for her, like it like over. So it didn't.
Oh,
yeah.
I'm getting goosebumps.
Dude, it's so fresh, because what you're saying is just like, just focus in on that one thing. Don't let yourself get blown away by the immensity of the crowd. Don't let yourself get washed up in all the emotions. Just zone in, own your sport,
100%.
win your medal, come home, and then celebrate.
So she's
it's like
closing
own that
her
moment.
eyes.
Yeah, closing her eyes, and she just felt like the crowd and the energy. Just so when she actually experienced it, it wasn't like, oh, geez, this is frightening, this is overwhelming. And obviously, like when you're doing visualization in your room, like you can try your best to sort of picture that. But until you're there, you sort of don't really know. So I'm grateful. My comp is until day 3 of the Olympics. So I have like a good day or two to sort of go to that arena and just make sure I can feel the energy of the crowd and really feel it before my moment of the time in the ring.
How many times have you walked into the ring right now in your head? How many times have you done that?
Mate, it'd be almost thousands, I reckon. Like there's been obviously like the Olympics dream started years ago, but I only qualified. I found out in February that I qualified. So that's when it sort of really started ramping up and stuff like that. And I think as well, just like not just the walk in, like you're focusing on the warm up, you're focusing on the bus trip on the way there. Everyone's wearing a mask. That's a big thing that I try and focus on. I've actually been and fought in the arena, so I can see it in my head, which is like a big advantage. So yeah, like for me, it's just everything. It's not just a walk in. It's not just a hand being raised. It's not just the podium. Like it's everything that goes into that, making weight, the weigh in, like all the things that go into fight day. I visualize that. So,
In depth.
So
yeah,
you've
in depth,
been
100%.
here before. You've been here before. It's all familiar.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah.
That's so awesome. And in terms of like the village, being in the Com Games, is there like, do you feel like that will have helped you just adapt so that like just being in new environments can be sort of draining, but like just by being in the Com Games village, do you think that would have helped at all? Just with the expectations of the Tokyo village.
100%, absolutely. Obviously, being on home soil, the Olympics is obviously double, if not triple, the size of the Com Games. It's massive. But like being on a home games at the Commonwealth Games and like expectation of being the hometown fighter and stuff like that, and the crowd and family and friends and everything that goes into that has definitely helped leading into the Olympics. Like it won't be my first major multi-sport event, and it's almost like a bit of a blessing that COVID's going on, because like there's not like my family's not there, the pressure of that, the family's not there. There's so many things that go into it as well, like the COVID protocols and stuff like that. There'll be less people in the change rooms. Like there's so many positives. You've just got to look for them. So yeah, as I said, like the Olympic Village would be fantastic, and I just can't wait to get in there, like, and just sort of throw down.
Yeah, that's
So
unreal.
exciting.
Are you excited to mix with the other athletes as well? Is there anyone?
Oh,
is there anyone?
absolutely.
Is there any of the basketballers that you want to sort of head towards, or
Patty Mills is an absolute jet.
damn.
I was having who was I thinking about the other day? I forget. I forget who it was. It'll come to me in a second, because I'm thinking about it. It'll come to me in a second. But yeah, like there's so many good athletes and stuff like that, and you know, a lot of the swimmers, like I'm a bit of a fanboy with some of the swimmers and stuff like that. Just people who win medals for Australia and stuff like that. So Chloe Despacito, she won the last Olympics. Like she's fantastic. So it'll just be like massive, and I'll be in awe of a lot of the athletes. Like I love Olympic sport. So grateful that I finally get the opportunity to like put on the green and gold and represent the country.
That's so wicked, awesome. Dude. Well, speaking of multi-sport, before we sort of get to the end of the pod, we're wanting to ask everyone, what's your go-to Winter Olympic sport that you're going to compete in?
Ooh. I love this. I would say like the half pipe, like Scotty James. But, yeah, probably that. It's saying that as well. Like one of my biggest role models, or not role models, like one of my biggest idols more so. I don't know her personally. Is Lydia Lasilla. So she won the 2010 games. She won a gold, and then in the 2014, I don't even know the story, but 2014 she was sitting in bronze. I love this story. She was sitting in bronze, and she could have done a jump that she would have landed 150% and won gold, but she chose to do a jump that no female has ever done. And she failed the landing and ended up just coming home with bronze, but she chose in that moment, pushing the sport and pushing the limit of female sport is so much bigger, and I'm like, it's just always so much bigger than us. It's always just so much bigger than us, and I took so much out of that. So I hope someone else does as well.
half pipe is yours.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably half pipe. Yeah.
Brilliant.
And I just wanted to, I was taking little bits of information I was receiving from the chat with Alex and from the poems we were listening to. Is there anyone in your love life at the moment?
Yeah, but I guess, man, like I'm pretty loved up at the moment. It's yeah, it's early days, but like who knows? Like I met her just before I come overseas, and it's early days, but it seems very promising. So hopefully it goes somewhere. I hope so.
Brilliant.
That's awesome. Back in Australia, is this a?
Yeah, back in Australia. So yeah, she's a fantastic chick. Like her personality is like, we get on like a house on fire. And as I said, early days, so who knows? It could go anywhere, but I really hope it goes somewhere.
This is awesome.
Fantastic.
This is really
dude.
cool. I've had so many goosebump moments.
So have I.
By talking to
Oh.
you. So this is really awesome. This has been really great to talk to you. And we'll just wrap up now. But is there any way people can get in contact with you or just follow your journey?
100%, man. Instagram is probably the biggest. So just Harry_Garside, Facebook Harry Garside. But yeah, as I said, Instagram. For any like young athletes and stuff like that, I always answer anyone's question if they message me. So if you have any questions, like I'll answer them. 100%.
Awesome. Thanks for coming on to the show, Harry.
Thanks, Harry.
It's been
Awesome.
really awesome to talk to you.
Man,
And
legend. Thanks for having me.
tuning into the episode.
Cheers, mate.